Ghanaians, unfortunately, are not nationalistic. They don't always see the beauty of the things that are indigenous to here. People come here for healing. People come here for community. There's so many beautiful, amazing aspects that are here that's not available in the West. I said, do you not notice how many people are coming from the place you want to be? They're coming here and settling here. Why? Why is that? A 17-year-old boy, Ghanaian, was stabbed in London on Wednesday. And then there was a Ghanaian who was shot at a bus stop in Canada last weekend. Last year in America, they had the most mass shootings to date, not reported on once here in Ghana. They don't want people here to know what they're getting into going there. The young people here are desperate to go because they think that they're not going to face some of the same things they face here, there, and that's not the truth. I celebrated 10,000 subscribers in early 2021, YouTube, to my channel. They said that my channel had hate speech on it. Black people empowering themselves, Black people returning to the continent, Black people doing for themselves. This is considered hate speech to them. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Gaddafi, they had also seen other people assassinated, their character destroyed. They knew what was at stake, but they decided, I'm still going to do what's right, no matter what the consequences are.
Describe your 4 years experience living in Ghana in a sentence.
A lot of chemicals in the food out there. Nobody has the obesity issue in the world that Americans have. I was there for 6 weeks. I gained 20 pounds. I knew a long time ago where the West was going was not where I also wanted to go. It was my favorite place that I had visited.
Out of that 20 countries?
Oh yeah. I went to Egypt, I went to Kenya, I went to Tanzania, I went to Nigeria, and then there was South Africa, and I said the decision is still final.
What would you say you wish you knew about Ghana before moving down here?
I wish I knew. Why are you always trying to find Africa here? Why don't you just go home? And when she said it, I swear, it hit me like a ton of bricks. For those of us that are interested in relocating to the continent, you need strategy, you need maturity, you need patience. The perception that there's nothing in Africa, it's a mental thing. You can create anything wherever you are.
Hello guys, and welcome back again to another amazing episode, and this is the Diaspora Transition episode where we have dialogue with diasporans who are currently living here on the continent who transitioned from the diaspora. And today we do have here someone very, very special. She's been recommended by many for me to have a dialogue with her, and she goes by the name Afrikan Superstar. So without further ado, welcome on the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
You're so famous. I like your outfit, the jewelry, so the Kente.
Yes, thank
it's
you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What inspired your outfit?
Obviously, it's Kente cloth. It's traditional to Ghana, many tribes, and the Ashanti tribe. And Kente is very symbolic. It represents many different colors, shapes, the Adinka symbols, the harmony of community, and things like that. So it's very distinct to Ghana, and I'm very proud to be here, represent the people, represent the country. So for me, Kente means so many things. And when I lived abroad, I used to see these fabulous weddings on Instagram. The couples would be dressed in Kente, and the husband and the wife, they match, same print. And I just thought, oh my God, that's amazing. So when I moved to Ghana, I have acquired many of them. Each one has a special meaning. The one I'm wearing is actually the one that was featured in my very first music video, Ghana is Good For Me. And this one is just so symbolic because the opening shot of that music video, I'm walking to Black Star Square, and I felt like Kwame Nkrumah. So I was just like, I've seen this square so many times. I've seen his pictures, there when we got independence. And so, yeah, this one is a special one. So I wore it today for you.
It's beautiful. I like it. Thank you. And I mean, I introduced you briefly. You do music. And
yes.
And your journey, I think I've seen a couple of interviews of you out there.
Yeah.
Let's say, for instance, somebody's watching it, they've not seen that.
Yes.
Briefly introduce yourself to people watching you for the first time, if they've never seen you before.
Well, first and foremost, my name is Gina Ifoe. I'm the one and only Afrikan Superstar. I'm an international traveler, an award-winning musician, and I base here in Ghana. Prior to settling in Ghana, I was doing business here. I was trading Kente cloth and Ankara fabrics. But I love Ghana. I've been embraced by the Ghanaian people for many years, dating back to when I lived in the U.S., my university days. And so I started the journey on YouTube probably around 2000, was it about 2013? Special shout out to one of my girlfriends named Honesty. She's the catalyst that suggested it. She just said, Gina, you know, you're such a dynamic person. I think you should think about making a YouTube channel.
Oh, wow.
And I just did it as, you know, kind of a New Year's. I don't do New Year's resolutions. I do like a list of things I want to accomplish during the course of the year. And that particular year, I used to do it by the number of my age. I don't do that anymore. But so I was in my 30s at the time. So I had like, you know, 32, 33 lists of things to do. Starting a YouTube channel was one of them. And I started it, and it was very therapeutic for me. I was going through a lot of things at the time, a divorce and life changes, travels, and I was kind of just cataloging that. And as time went on, I migrated, I moved to the UK, then I started my business, then I moved to Ghana, romance, travels, and all of it was on my YouTube channel.
Let's slow down.
So it's so much to say, you know, it's a long story.
Where we are currently filming this episode is called Jendu Place. Jendu Place is a co-working space located in Accra, Ghana, East Legon. If you're a diasporan, you have a remote job and you want to move down here, plug and play literally, this place is the place for you. They have internet, 24 hours internet, electricity as well. So you can get to enjoy the facilities here. And when you get here, tell them you're coming from Webnation Africa, you might get a discount. So
yes.
2013, you started your YouTube channel.
Yes.
What were you posting on there?
Actually, at the time, the root of my business is motivational speaking.
Okay.
So I was posting motivational, you know, snippets from, I avidly go to the gym. That's one of my big things for like stress relief, fitness, and all of that. And I would post my thoughts going to the gym, basically, you know, trying to motivate people, that kind of thing. And at the time, I was a member of a church, and my pastor had told me that the best way to motivate yourself is to try to motivate others, and that will become a source of motivation for you too. So I was going through a lot. I wasn't disclosing it on my channel, but those videos, even when I would go back and watch them, even sometimes I would create messages, I didn't remember them, and I would watch them and I would think, wow, that's really good. It was interesting. So that was the fundamentals of the channel at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, I have maintained very inspirational and motivational throughout the years, because I'm a positive person and I believe that we can do things. I believe we can achieve if we put that effort in.
I like that. So where was that in the U.S.?
I'm from Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to the Buckeyes, all the folks back there in Ohio. Yeah. Much love to you guys.
Yeah. So how did Africa come into the picture from 2013 making videos? What point did you start, you know, going back to your roots, even to sell the merchandise that the business that you stumbled upon?
So I think for many members of the diaspora, the issue of their origins is a bit confusing for them. And if you're brought up in the West without any other influences, you may not want to be associated with Africa. And I think I've watched your channel a bit, and I've seen other diasporians, you know, kind of express that they had negative stereotypes of the continent. They had seen negative images, or they had bad interactions perhaps with African migrants in the diaspora, and those things discouraged them from wanting to you know, be associated and things like that. In my case, I'm a world traveler, so I knew that the world was different than it is portrayed via the media, because I had actually been to places where the media had said one thing, or the education had said one thing, but it was actually a different reality. So I had a broader, you know, perspective when it came to the continent, number one. Number two, I had great relationships with many different African communities, and they were very embracing to me. So the kind of the catalyst in terms of the Ghanaian community was that I had a very good, one of my besties, his name is Kofi. And we went to the University of Cincinnati together back in 2001. That's how far it goes back. And Kofi would take me with him everywhere because we like to party. You know, we like good food, we like music, we like, you know, dancing, everything. So we were best friends, and people thought we were dating because literally we'll be everywhere together. He would take me to outdoorings, he'd take me to baby showers, funerals, everything. We used to go together. And they were so lit. Like, it was lit. The food was great. The people were friendly. The Kente cloth and the traditional prints. And I was like, ah. So I was thinking to myself, well, if this is how an event is here in the U.S., when I go to Ghana, which is the root of it all, it's going to be crazy, you know? So I was thinking in that term of things. And so that's what kind of sparked my interest, was the warmth and friendliness that I receive from the Ghanaian community. And with my heritage, there's always a question of where I'm from and all of that. But among Ghanaians, they were like, they would see my surname, which is Ifoe, and they'll be like, are you Ewe? And I was very curious to know, like, wow, these people don't question my origins. They just take me as one of their people. Yeah. So that was very inviting to me, you know, something different than what I encountered with, you know, Black Americans, other Africans, Caribbean, you know, with the Ghanaians, they were like, oh yeah, you're one of our people, you know. Wow. And that was very, very inviting for me.
So 2001, you met Kofi?
Yes.
Up to what point?
Kofi and I we're still
to this day
best friends. You know, I just saw him. I recently traveled. I had bereavement. My father passed in America.
Sorry,
and I went there, and I was just with Kofi. I just saw him about 3 weeks ago.
So you fell in love with the culture through meeting the Ghanaian community in Ohio at that time.
Correct, yes.
So at what point did you decide to embark on a journey to come into the continent for the first time?
So I took my very first trip to Ghana in 2016.
2016,
yes.
Okay.
And at the time, I had a good friend that was doing my hair in Ohio, and she was preparing
braiding
to
your
do
hair.
it. Yeah,
and stuff.
she would braid my hair. All Ghanaians do my hair, even this one here.
Yeah.
Big shout outs to Shirley in Columbus, Ohio. She sees this. She did it for me before I traveled.
Wow.
But the lady was having a wedding in Ghana because, you know, many of the Borgas, they will come back home for the weddings and those kind of things. So she said,
Borga.
she invited me, you know, she said, because I was planning a trip to South Africa and she knew I was going to be in South Africa. And I don't know what it is. Everybody assumes I'm very rich. They know I travel the world. So she said, you're going to be in South Africa. You should stop by Ghana to come for my wedding. And I said, and I had been wanting to go. So I did. I rearranged my trip. Just a week, I came to Ghana for the first time.
2016.
2016, right before the presidential election. I came, I believe, like the last week of November. So when I came, I'll never forget, I took South African Airways from Johannesburg to Accra. And I've been on many planes. You know, I've traveled to over 20 countries currently.
Wow.
When I got into Ghana, when the plane landed, everybody applauded. And that was the first and only plane I've ever had that happen. You know, the people were so excited to be coming to Ghana. And I was like, what is it? When I got off the plane, I felt this like energy in the place. And I was like, wow. You know, I never felt like that. I was so happy. I was just ecstatic to be here, you know, and many of the things that I had learned about the community as I was versing myself. You know, I'm into the music. Even before I became a musician, I love Afro beats. I love some of my favorites, Lord Paper, Biza K-Day, Oforion Ponsa. I sampled Oforion on one of my tracks. You know, many of the high life artists, these things. So when I came to Ghana, I was able to hear that music everywhere, you know. I went to a karaoke and they were doing Skin Tight. Everybody was singing these things. And in the West, you know, unless you go to specific places, you wouldn't hear Afro beats at that time, you know. So it was just like, wow, I was in the mecca of it all. Yeah. And I really loved it. I loved the food. It was so good.
What was your favorite food?
The fruits here are so sweet. The taste of the food is well prepared. Like, I can really articulate it well, but yeah, I just feel, if I could sum up my life here in Ghana, I believe the word would be care. You know, I get care here, you know, from the people that do my hair to my neighbors.
Are you trying to say you didn't get that in America?
America's a very individualistic place. You know, everybody's doing for themselves. And because of the lifestyle, it doesn't really allow for a lot of care, a lot of time to be spent, services, food preparation. You know, a lot of Westerners eat food out. You know, they do takeaways all the time because they don't have time to sit down and prepare meals, spend time with family and friends, be with their children, you know, these type of things. Here in Ghana, we have time. You know, we have time. And I really love that, you know, because to me, time is the most expensive currency, more than money. You know, money, you can dash somebody something. But if you cut time out of their day, you're out of your day. You make preparation to be at an event or bereave with someone. That is very meaningful. And in Ghana, people make time, have time, and you know, it's very, very special.
I like that. So, how you felt during that occasion when you came to Ghana made you want to come back?
Yeah. So at that point, it was my favorite place that I had visited. You know,
out of that 20 countries.
Oh yeah, and
Oh, wow.
I knew straight away. You know, many things were communicating that to me, and I came back. At the time, I was still living in America. And I was making preparations to leave the country altogether because I was very fed up with America. Long time. You know, the people are catching up to where I was now. And I think post 2019, people are paying attention more to Ghana. But I knew a long time ago where the West was going was not where I also wanted to go.
Wow.
So I was touring, you know, to kind of determine. So that was part of the reason I went to South Africa to see how that was. I really didn't fancy it. I liked Ghana.
Why didn't you like South Africa?
Well, South Africa is very reminiscent of the West to me. And I don't see the premise of me being in Africa and being in the West, you know.
Right.
Going to South Africa felt like Atlanta or, you know, just another American city. They deal with a lot of the same pretenses that we deal with in the West. There's the racism piece, there's violence, you know. And so, I mean, it's a very lovely country, don't get me wrong, very scenic and things like that, but just not a fit for what I was trying to obtain in my move. So when I came to Ghana, I had the sensation, but I knew at that time that I was going to need to kind of create the infrastructure around that move. In Ghana, social currency is the way forward, you know, and that's how we even have connected. It's from friends and people that we know recommending that we meet. And so I needed to kind of create that. And I give a big shout out to all my Ghana folk that have been instrumental in this because Kofi, you know, when I moved out of the U.S., I eventually moved to the UK.
What year was that?
I moved in 2017. So like I said, I was touring to make that decision. When I came back, you know, from that visit, it was December of 2016. I ultimately moved August of 2017, and I moved to England. So in preparation of coming to Ghana, because like I said, I needed to set it up, you know. I needed to set up the whole movement. And when I came back, I said, man, I love Ghana. Like, I want to move to Ghana. And my friends were like, Charlie, you just went on one visit. You don't know Africa. You don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. Because I have to say, some of our people out in the West, they are huge, like, discouragement to those in the diaspora that are curious about Africa.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You'll have the conversation in America, for instance. A Black American will talk to a Nigerian. They'll talk to a Ghanaian and say, oh, I'm really into, you know, Afro beats. I really like jollof rice.
Yeah.
I'm into Kente cloth, or I like gay lace. And then this African will say, Charlie, why you want to go to Africa? What are you going to do there? Oh, this rubbish place. Oh, doomsor. Oh, this blah, blah. You know?
Yeah.
And many times they will even discourage that person. And then the Black American will say, well, man, if that person is from that country and they're telling me not to go there, then, man, I should probably pay attention. So shame on those of you out there that are discouraging. At the same time, they're telling us we should come to Africa because they're notorious for saying, oh, you don't know anything about Africa. You Black Americans, you don't know anything about your roots. You don't know your lineage. But then when people are interested, you would discourage them. So that's a contradiction. So anyway, that kind of happened to me. When I came back, I was excited about Ghana. Oh, boss, why you go there? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, you can't hack it. You can't make it. You know, this, that,
Let's speak on that mindset a little bit. Why do you think our people thinking like that?
Okay, so I think that the perception that there's nothing in Africa,
Right.
it's a mental thing. Because the reality is you can create anything wherever you are. As you've done here with your
Right.
YouTube channel.
Right.
Many of your colleagues, they probably want to japa and go abroad and all that. But here you are growing your empire right here.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and you've had great success in doing that.
Thank
and many
you.
other people, such as
Right.
Wodamaya,
Yeah.
you know, lots of people have decided, no, I don't need to travel. I'm going to make something happen here.
Exactly.
You know, the mentality is what is destroying our people because the mentality and the lack of self-sufficiency. Doing for yourself is always going to be the best way forward. You know, if you are doing, if other people are in control of your livelihood, your income, your upward mobility, you're always going to be subject to them, you know? And I believe that is it. So when people think about the West is developed.
Yeah.
You know, there's no toiling that goes into the soil. You're going to move there, get a job, clock in, and go forward.
Right.
Obviously, the path of a leader is a lot more unforeseen. We don't know what is on that path.
You don't know what you're gonna
and we don't
find.
know if we're going to win. We don't know
Yeah.
if we're going to lose. The probability is there, obviously, and we know people that have made it,
Right.
but there's no guarantee in it. And I think a lot of people are just lazy and they just want the easy way out, you know? So there's not much legwork that goes into getting a job
Right.
and working for somebody.
Yeah, it's
You know
easy.
what I mean? Exactly. But you'll live hand to mouth for your whole life.
Yeah.
All the most substantial, rich people, they're all entrepreneurs. You know, they're all leaders. You can look at the top billionaires and everything. None of
Yeah.
them reached there by doing 9 to 5.
Exactly.
Maybe they did in a period
Right.
to get their capital, get themselves going, but ultimately it required them doing for themselves.
Exactly. I like that.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of the a lot of the migrants, they are those types. They're not leaders. They're not do for self. They rather just, punch the clock, keep quiet on what's happening around them and live that life.
Yeah.
you
Like
know.
a mediocre life.
Yes.
Because what you're describing
very
is
average,
right.
very basic, and you wouldn't be remembered for that. I would say, you won't be remembered for that basic life. And then, it's also a bit selfish because we're not considering those that are coming behind us.
Yeah.
Those behind us require us to pave the way for them.
Exactly.
Exactly. If we're just thinking about myself, what I'm going to chop tonight, and this and that. It leaves our children and grandchildren at a disadvantage. All of us can even say, we wish our grandparents did this, or some of us benefited from what they did. Oh, they left us land, they left us business, they left us inheritance, or whatever, or they gave us knowledge. And, it's either yay or nay. Either you're at a disadvantage or you're at an advantage. And a lot of those things provide those advantages.
So how did you have that mindset of being the problem solver rather than just, following like you mentioned?
To be honest, I had a different life plan.
Yeah.
And I attribute it to my ancestors that have brought me here, because I very much went in the direction that I had in mind. I was fully aware of what being a leader, what is required to be a leader. And to be honest, I ran from it.
Really?
I ran from it. My mom will say that when I was about 15, 16, there was a local public broadcasting place in Ohio. It's called PBS. Okay. Public Black Broadcasting System.
Yeah.
And they had just like local programming, and I starred on this politician show a couple times. I was about 15, 16 at the time. And my mom told me, you should go into broadcasting. I think you'll be excellent for this. And I said, no, Mom, I don't want it. Like we got into an argument because I said,
Really?
don't want it. I don't want to be in the public eye. I don't want to be controlled. She was kind of thinking maybe like news journalism. And I was thinking, nah, they have to wear certain kind of clothes, conservative hair. They're controlled on what they say. Their whole life is dictated. And I didn't want that, and also the criticism of being in the public eye. So many, useless people, excuse my language, but they're commenting on the efforts of those of us that are getting out here, from the comfort of their home and computers and keyboards. They have so much to do when they're not contributing, they're not making an effort. All they can do is complain about what's happening. So, in terms of the passion, I've always been very passionate. I've always been someone to speak her mind and someone who
Did you get that from
appreciates
your
truth.
family, your parents?
you know, it's me. My mom always says that I'm an old soul. That's what they used to call me growing up. That I was a matured person, a very serious child. You know, I've been very serious. And I think I've kind of cultivated better communication skills because of the fact that when I would speak my mind, people would always discount it. And I took that originally that maybe I'm not expressing myself well because I would say things and people would say, oh, you're not serious, or they would laugh, or they would say, oh, Gina, you're just hilarious. And I would be very serious, like, why are these people not understanding what I'm saying? So I learned how different methods of communication, but I've always just been a straightforward person. So nonetheless, when I came back from Ghana, I expressed I like Ghana. They told me, you know, whatever, forget about it. You're an American, you grew up here, you can never make it, and all those things. And I said, okay. So when I moved in 2017, I was quiet about the move. I had taken another trip prior to Ghana in 2014 to England. And a friend of mine was complaining to them I was just tired of going back to America. Like, I was just sick of it because I hated it. And my friend said, well, have you ever thought about moving abroad? And at that time, I had never, ever considered it. So I made a strategic move to the UK because the British pound was stronger than the dollar.
Right.
Also, travel is a lot more accessible to Africa, the rest of the world, and it's a lot more affordable. And it's a much more European way of life. You know, when in America, when I would tell people I'm traveling, they would be like, why? Where are you going to go? It's disease, it's danger. And in Europe, they're like, oh, you're going to Ghana? Oh, I've been to Accra. Oh, I've been here and there, you know. And it was it's just a different reception in Europe when you express world travel. Yeah, you know, less. And furthermore, there's huge African diaspora in England, you know, between the Ghanaians and Nigerians. I mean, they're the top diasporas there. So I was able to make networks and, you know, and those things there. So I moved to England. After a year, 2018, I said, okay. A friend actually was the catalyst because, you know, don't discount. Sometimes people would drop things on you, but I'm always paying attention and analyzing. So what happened was I lived in Northampton, which is about an hour and a half outside of London. And in England, African restaurants and these things are scarce. So we had planned to go to London where there was this Ghana restaurant. Okay, so I took the train and I met my friend there. And then Ghanaian food is also expensive abroad because it's exports, you know. Yes. So you know, and it's not fresh like here, you know. So anyway, we got to this restaurant and I had tilapia and banku, which is my favorite, and I didn't like the banku. So it wasn't nice, and I was like, I've taken the train. I paid like 30 pounds for this meal, and it's not nice. And my friend was like, everywhere we go, you want to see Africa. Everywhere you go, you won't go to party unless there's African food there. You won't go, you blah, blah. She said, why are you always trying to find Africa here? Why don't you just go home?
Go to the source.
And when she said it, I swear, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I said, you know what? You are 100% right. And it's something that I think the diaspora never considers when we struggle with the environmental problems that we have in those settings. We rarely think about changing our environment. We try to change many other things except that. And for me, that was the major change that changed my life. And that conversation was so pivotal. So at that time, that was 2018, I decided, okay, I'll give myself 2 years. I'll move to Ghana in 2020. So coincidentally, this year of return came. And all this popularity came to Ghana, and people are grouping me with that. But this was happening before that for me. I was planning my move and everything, and at the time, I had the Afrikan Superstar.com. And that's where I was selling my attires. You know, I used to also go to Nairobi and get the jewelries from the Maasai. So I would go every 6 months. I'd come to Accra for a week. I'd go to Nairobi for a week. I would get inventory. I would take it back to the UK because every time I traveled, they said, where did you get that? Oh, my God, those earrings are amazing. This and that. I said, okay, this is a business because out there you can get it, you know, as accessible as at home. And then it's very expensive. So I was able to sell it as a luxury product. When 2020 came and the borders closed, I had an epiphany that at the time I had a more longer plan to move to Ghana. I planned like a 10-year plan. Most Borgas will say that. Oh, I'll come home. Yeah, they're planning 10 years, blah, blah, blah. Well, when COVID came, I said, I don't know what's happening. You know, I don't know what's happening in the future. So I better make this move now. And when the borders opened, I packed my things, came down to Ghana.
Wow.
Yeah.
2020. It's been almost what? We are in 24.
4 good years
4 years.
now.
How has living in Ghana been like for you?
Oh my goodness.
Really?
I love Ghana.
Wow.
I love Ghana, and I thank my ancestors for guiding me. You know, coming here has been a complete change of my life, you know. And I find that there were many aspects that I needed for a good quality life. And this is the intersection of them.
Let's dive into that.
Yeah. So first of all, I hate cold weather. Okay. I've always hated cold weather since childhood.
Wow.
And that was something I experienced in England as well. You know, I did prefer Europe to America, but the weather was just, you know, overcast, rainy, cloudy every day for the year. You know, even in the months that's supposed to be summer, it's like that. And I thought people were exaggerating before I moved there, but it really is like that, which is the reason why so many British travel the way they do, and so many Europeans travel the way they do, because the weather where they're living is terrible. I like the black majority. You know, I think that racism is debilitating, and I don't understand why I have to deal with it. You know, I don't feel that I should. I don't feel that people have the right to inflict that on me, and I think that it is indigenous to those places. And if you're going to be there, you can't overcome it through judicial things, protest. I mean, it's a part of their system. You understand? And the food, a lot of chemicals in the food out there, you know, currently, which leads to health problems, which, I mean, when you look at the West, matter of fact, in America, nobody has the obesity issue in the world that Americans have, because their food is tainted. A lot of chemicals, a lot of sugars, a lot of preservatives, a lot of salt. Even I recently traveled, like I mentioned, for my dad. I was there for 6 weeks. I gained 20 pounds just from being there.
Wow.
So, you know, and then there's the gun violence that's just rampant in America. I know that people here, it's very interesting because they don't report it here in Ghana. It's almost like they only want to show you guys the beautiful parts of the West and not the comprehensive picture, which I believe adds to that communication gap we spoke about. Because when diasporians come here, instead of continentals be like, I understand. You know, I understand some of the things that you guys are facing. It's like, why are you here? Oh my God, you could be in America. You could be in England. Why have you chosen to be here? And they're completely oblivious to the realities that we face. Because
we don't see it.
Exactly. And I mean, like, for instance, last year in America, they had the most mass shootings to date, over 600 mass shootings last year in the country, not reported on once here in Ghana. Not on the radios, not on the TV. You know, it's a conspiracy. They don't want people here to know what they're getting into going there. And I'm not going to ever discourage anyone from traveling, because traveling has been very, very pivotal in my own personal life. But I do believe you should be aware of what you're getting into. And for some people, it may be more ideal to travel for a short period of time or travel for holidays rather than japa and sell all their things, move, you know, leave their businesses, sell their lands. You know, that may not necessarily be what every person needs to do. And the young people here are desperate to go because they think that they're not going to face some of the same things they face there, and that's not the truth.
They're being lied to.
Yeah, they're gonna face, as I put it, I left my American problems for African problems. I decided to trade those problems for African problems. So don't be under the pretense when you leave Ghana, you're leaving everything behind. You're not. You're going to get a share of Canadian problems, British problems, French problems, Chinese problems, and they're probably problems you've not encountered here. You know, the racism piece, you don't really deal with that here. There's a little bit, obviously, dealing with the foreign companies. I've heard some stories and things like that, but not like you're going to experience living in a place as a minority person. The weather, we don't understand how that really impacts us. This is our natural habitat. This is where God decided to play. Exactly. The sun, tropical environment, fertile lands that grow fruits and, agriculture. You move to those places and those things are not readily available, and you won't know until you lack it, and then you realize, wow, it's a big deal. So, but for me, the things I really love, they all intersect here. This is the only place, even when I toured the other African nations, because, I always say, if you have a point to prove, you should prove it. So when people just, tried to discourage me from Ghana, I said, okay, let me prove my point.
Right.
So I went to Egypt, I went to Kenya, I went to Tanzania, I went to Nigeria, and then there was South Africa. And I said, the decision is still final.
Wow.
And here we are.
I like that because, so how did you become so serious about the music part? Because
So this is the thing. This is the absolute thing, which is unbelievable. So when I moved to Ghana, I had a large YouTube channel. I celebrated 10,000 subscribers probably about a month after I moved here in 2020. And in early 2021, YouTube took my channel. They totally shut it down. I had at the time, I had just had an interview with BET in America, and the channel was going viral. So I was growing over 11,000 subscribers at the time. And they said that my channel had hate speech on it because I promote the continent. You see, this conversation about Black people empowering themselves, Black people returning to the continent, Black people doing for themselves, this is considered hate speech to them. I mean, I don't know if you've seen any of the stories, but when Black people even come out and say,
my fair share.
yeah, it's like, I want to do for myself. We look at the Pan-African leaders, they've all been eliminated. Anytime our people decide they do not want to necessarily focus on the other communities, focus on their own people, that's considered a hate speech. I don't swear on my channel. I'm family friendly. I had been on YouTube at that point for 8 years, never had this issue, but I don't know if it was an internal person or an external person that I believe they were going through and just reporting my videos right after my BET interview. I got 3 strikes within about 2-3 weeks time.
Wow.
So anyway, the channel went down. And that was April of 2021. And I said, okay, I actually had received some crazy emails from, people from YouTube. And one of those emails said, oh, I suppose now that you don't have your YouTube channel, that you'll have to return to the West because you wouldn't be able to afford your life in Africa.
What?
Yeah, because you see, that's the thing. That's the thing. There are pioneers, and then there is the trendy movement. And I realized that we're in that stage here in Ghana. There's a lot of celebrities coming, there's music festivals, and there's a lot of hype around Ghana. I want to definitely specify I'm not part of that. I'm someone who had already determined that I had an interest in Ghana prior to that movement. I had also set the infrastructure up to move to Ghana, so I wouldn't necessarily be dependent on YouTube, for instance. I had already planned other things. I had a website, I do speaking, and all those things. So anyway, I took that one very personal. I never forgot that. I never forgot that. So I had a conversation with the ancestors right after that, and I said, look, you guys brought me here to Ghana. Even I don't even understand the whole story. It's remarkable when I look over it. But if that's the case, you guys need to make sure that I stand. I should never be put to shame for making this decision. A few weeks later, I heard this beat, and I wrote Ghana is Good for Me. That's the first song I ever wrote. I was never a musician in the West. I'm not formally trained, nothing. I wrote this song, and I took it to a good friend of mine, Tawo, and I let her hear it. And she said, oh, Gina, it's really good. You should record it. It's a good song. Record it. So I recorded it. And then we shot a music video. I asked a couple of friends. Shout out to Donald Gage, the musician who recommended my video team, ONAB Studios. And I went and worked with ONAB, and we shot Ghana's Good for Me. I put it on YouTube, and the video went viral. Walter Maya shared it, Phil Scott shared it, O'Shea Duke Jackson shared it. People were like buying it, online. I had it available for purchase, and I said, okay, here we go. So I believe that this is my gift from the ancestors. This is my gift for coming to Ghana, because I was very preoccupied with the lifestyle in the West to even know that I had this ability. And I just keep going with it, and it's a remarkable. In 2 years, it's just been a little over 2 years, because I wrote my first song 2021. I have won 3 music awards. I'm performing internationally. I performed in London. I performed in Paris. I've been on the radio. My music videos are even spinning on DGN currently as we speak.
Wow.
And it's remarkable. When I was in London, I met young people that were singing my songs word for word. I've been in the airport and people are like, yo, Afrikan Superstar, I love you. And it's just like, wow. Sometimes I look at it from a third person and I'm just like, this is just really.
You never anticipated your life,
I never, ever. If you would have told me 10 years ago, I probably would have told you you're crazy.
Really?
Say, oh, you're going to be living in Ghana and you're going to be a music star and, a social media person. I would have been like, nah. Because I wanted to be a banker. I wanted to be a professional. That's what I did in the West. I used to work for a bank, JP Morgan Chase.
Oh, really?
I also have, education in IT and things like that. So I wanted to be a behind the scenes person, like I told you. When my mom said, go into broadcasting, I said no. And it's all come full circle, And she just said that to me when I saw her a few weeks ago. She said, I told you this a long time ago.
How did that make you feel when she said that to you?
I told her, I said, you're right. But I do believe that in this context, I have creative control over my art. I still probably wouldn't want to be in the formal broadcasting world, the mainstream world, because I want to be able to govern my art, govern my voice, and govern my message. And that's why, because the things I talk about, for instance, they're controversial to the mainstream. I would never be able to promote Black people to go. I would never be able to be so frank about it, discussing racial issues and all those things. But social media has created that avenue.
Wow.
Yes.
Let's speak about not being able to even communicate that simple truth about your heritage on the media.
Yeah.
What do you think we can be able to begin to do differently to change that?
At the end of the day, what we have to do is create, many people have said it, we have to create our own platforms. Anything that we utilize through someone else is going to be controlled, and there's a lot of censoring that goes on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, probably, I don't know if your platform was up during COVID, but they were censoring so many people's videos, taking people's channels down, striking videos. If people had a dissenting view about, for instance, the vaccine and, the lockdowns and everything that was happening, if you weren't speaking the narrative they wanted, then they were, shutting down your channel. And that's not freedom of speech like they claim that we have. And, we have to find other creative ways to share that message. And that's another reason I'm doing the music, because our people love entertainment. Sometimes sitting down to listen to a lecture or listen to someone speak is boring. These young people don't have a lot of attention span nowadays. So being able to find creative ways to put these messages out there and influence them positively is a way, so.
I like that. Describe your 4 years experience living in Ghana in a sentence.
Incredible.
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 But you know how you lived in a developed nation like the USA, in the UK.
Yeah.
The infrastructure is way better compared to what we have down here in Africa. And I know you've experienced the doom cells and all those things. Taxis not getting on, all the inconveniences. How have you been able to navigate through that? You said earlier on that you chose your African problem than American problem.
And that's it. I have a saying on actually the mission statement of my YouTube channel. It's called SMP. Okay, and it stands for strategy, maturity, and patience. For those of us that are interested in relocating to the continent, you need SMP. You need strategy. You need maturity. You need patience. As you said, I'm not coming to another developed nation per se. You need patience to be able to repetitively have that conversation about why you have chosen to leave the West and come to Africa. Because I was a frequent traveler here, I was aware of some of these things. And in some things, I have seen the improvement from 2016 to 2024, But I waive those problems. I say the problems I face potentially in the West are different. I feel that I'm also powerless to address those problems because they've been in existence for centuries, versus this is a developing nation. So there is opportunity for change here, and many things are changing. And as you know, many things are changing. So that gives me the hope that, okay, maybe some of the inconveniences, they will be addressed and those type of things. Even from the first time when I first came in 2016, there was no Uber. For instance, here in Ghana, Uber wasn't here yet. Exactly. So I had to get a taxi with, at that time I knew very little tree. Try to navigate the city. At that time it's like, oh, go here to the plantain seller, then go left, there's a church there, and then you look for the red building and you go, these are the type of directions that you have.
That's how you get it.
The GPS, Google Maps was not there. So by the time I came back and I'm like, oh wow, Google's here. Google has been updated. The map has been updated. They did the Ghana Post and they put all the locations. And, so I've seen changes, and that gives me happiness, as well as knowing that there are a lot of other diasporans in my likeness that really love the continent, and they're bringing things as they come, bringing their skills, bringing business, and, trying to break down this communication gap and things. So, and also, we don't realize that a lot of infrastructure comes at the expense of your freedom. Okay?
Elaborate on that.
Oh, yeah. So one of the other mitigating factors of me coming to Ghana, deciding just to pick up and go after COVID, was the surveillance in the UK. So the UK is one of the top 5 most surveilled countries in the world. They have CCTVs everywhere and all of that. And when lockdown came, they locked the country down. They turned the trains off. They stopped the buses. They gave us a 7 p.m. curfew. One of my friends, we would have 2 hours a day to be out for errands or exercise. And she went to the park. We were all going to the park, which was quite nice. Everybody was, there was nothing else to do. People were going, hanging out at the park. And she went there and she overstayed her 2-hour time period. And they sent her a text message telling her that she had overstayed her 2 hours outside. They told us COVID was being transmitted through cash, so you had to do everything on your card. They knew, they had police at the train stations asking you where was your postcode, which is like your area. And, you're not supposed to go beyond your area. And I thought to myself, if they can do this, if they can shut the borders, I'm literally trapped in here, can't get out. Monitoring everywhere, know where I'm going, know where I'm spending money. I didn't like all of that. And I thought to myself, okay, here in Ghana, I have free movement, and I like free movement. So I'll take the lack of infrastructure in some ways to have my freedom. And so that's how I was looking at it. Now, people need their conveniences and stuff. I'm open-minded. So some of the things, where I live, I don't experience excessive doom soar. We do have water outages sometimes, but not excessively. And I would say if that's a big issue for diasporans coming, probably look into various areas where you live. If you live, the more rural you live, the further away from the city, the more likely you're to experience those things frequently or for more extended periods of time. If you're in the cities, it will be minimal, for the most part. So it's minimal for me.
I like that. What would you say you wish you knew about Ghana before moving down here?
I wish I knew about Ghana a long time ago. I would have been investing here. I would have loved to get land prior to 2019. The cost of everything is going up. It continually is going up as supply and demand. More people are coming here. It's popular. And so the people that own are raising the prices on everything. I just wish I would have known that, because I was wasting money out there on clothes and shoes. I could have been buying cars. I could have been building things here and those type of things. But then you can't be held responsible for what you don't know. So we're never promoted to explore the continent from the West. We're never told of maybe potential options here, investment, development, nothing. You know, we are promoted to live our lives in the West. So it really takes independent research to understand that, oh, wow, there are things. You can't buy land in America. It's very difficult. You know, starting a farm there, building your own home. These things, you're not able to do them in the West in the same context that you can do them here in Ghana or across the continent. And these are things I wish I knew, but yeah.
But I mean, I think I've had a conversation with some people, physically and virtually, where they're Americans, Black Americans.
Yeah.
And they choose, they would rather stay in America than
Well,
come
that's
here.
where they should say.
Well, what do you think we should do to people, or how should we react to people like that?
I mean, it's a person's prerogative where they want to be. If they don't find it, you know, maybe the environment suitable here, then they shouldn't be here, you know? It's up to them. Some people, let me put it like this. Let's say you grow up in a fish bowl, okay? Let's say you're a fish, and you grow up in an aquarium, okay? And there's like one little reef in there, and they put your food in every day and this and that. And then one day, there's a fish that comes in there that's come from the ocean. And this fish is telling you, man, this is a small place to live, and you know, what kind of food is this? And you know, there's barely anything around here. And you're saying, man, I'm okay with this fish bowl. What are you talking about? This is great. You know, now meanwhile, that other fish has been in the ocean. That person has had, you know, that fish has had unlimited range to swim. They've seen all kind of other fish. They've seen all kind of marine life. You know, they've eaten different things. The perspective is different. You know, I'm a world traveler. So I know that there's so much more than that fishbowl. For me, I prefer Ghana in this context. I prefer what it can offer me. To someone who's been a fishbowl their whole life, and they think it's all good. They think it's great. You know, and obviously during your fundamental years, which is usually age 1 to 6, that's when a lot of your character is developed, which is why people that are smart, that's when they instill a lot into their children, you know, and expose their children to a lot of things. These folks you may be dealing with, a lot of them, they might be in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. You know, they have spent decades believing what they think they know about the world, what they think they know about Africa. So 1 or 2 YouTube videos or Webnation or Afrikan Superstar is not going to change that perspective, you know. And for some of them, that's how it's going to be. The same way here in Ghana. You know, my conversation with somebody is not going to necessarily change their desire to move abroad and all these things. So what we have to focus on, what I actually focused on, was those people that our message would resonate to. You know what I mean? If you have 2 big circles of, you know, you have Americans, you have continental Africans, and in the center you have, you know, people that would be interested, people that are open-minded, people that are worldly, people that are adventurous or leaders. That's who we go for. Because you only need a small group of people to really, in effect, make change. You have people like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, you know, Patrice Lumumba, Gaddafi. You know, these are only one man. We know their name out of how many other men were living during their time. We don't even know them. One man was significant enough to be remembered through history because one man was ready to make those decisions. One man would stand. And you can't tell me those leaders didn't know what was on the line. They had also seen other people assassinated, killed, you know, their character destroyed. Mandela did 20 years in prison. You know what I mean? So they knew what was at stake, but they decided, I'm still going to do what's right, no matter what the consequences are. So we don't need to necessarily get caught up with the detractors and the people that aren't interested, the people that won't see. They will absolutely 100% see. I can attest to that as someone who, when I first visited Ghana, 2016, when I was even first talking about it, 2015, so on and so forth, people were like, what are you going there to do? There's nothing in Ghana. I'm never going to Africa. I'm not interested. Those same people are now in my inbox. Hey, I'm planning my trip to Ghana. Have questions. Can you, I'm here in town. Can we meet up for lunch? So, when you are a leader, as you are, from leader to leader, when you are a leader, you don't need to focus on those things. All you need to do is lead, and they will either they will recognize or they won't recognize. But you have to do what you have to do irrespective of that.
Send 3 strong advices for people who are willing to embark on the journey.
SMP. Strategy, maturity, and patience. If you want longevity on the continent, what I'm enjoying, it came from a lot of strategy. I didn't pack my bags and just move to Ghana. I empowered myself by learning about the culture, the people. I made networks and friends that, kind of work as liaisons when I'm doing various things or when I need information, and just trying to blend in with your new home. If you come here and you have a superiority complex or you feel that things are beneath, you don't need to learn the language, you don't need to know cultural norms, then you will feel very alienated here. And you may not have a lot of success because, as I mentioned, social currency is big here. It's about who you know. People can vouch for you. People say, kind of put their stamp of approval on you, or they'll open doors for you otherwise you wouldn't have had access to. So you need that strategy. You need maturity, understanding you're not in America, you're not in England, you're not in Australia, you're in Ghana. Okay. And the same way that many Black people around the rest of the world, when they go to China, they learn Chinese, they start eating the food, they start making Chinese friends. Okay, you have that attitude when you go to the Western world. When you come here to Africa, you don't do the same things. Why? If you want success in a foreign land, there's strategic things that you should do. And obviously patience. That maybe you may see the changes you hope to see one day happening in your lifetime. If not, you're laying the groundwork for those that are coming behind you. I never thought I would see this mass interest into Ghana. I never, ever thought it would happen, but I was still doing what I was doing before that and still continuing. So that's the advice I would give.
Being here for 4 years, if you're given the opportunity to change something here in Ghana that would contribute to the developments of this nation in general, what would that be?
Education. Yeah, I think that, the prevailing curriculums here in Ghana are British and American. They leave so much to be desired. Our people are not learning about our people, our ancestors, our history. They're not learning about culture. It's one of the reasons, for instance, I wear Kente cloth when I perform in my music videos, special events, is because I recognize it's beautiful. If we don't promote ourselves and our own things, then we will not, it will not be seen as special. That's the whole reason that whenever somebody's selling a product, they go get a celebrity or they pay for promo on the radio or the TV. They promote their product out there for people to love. Ghanaians, unfortunately, are not nationalistic. They don't always see the beauty of the things that are indigenous to here, unless someone else.
Why?
I don't know. It's terrible.
Really?
It's so terrible because it's like, I'm not religious, but there is a verse in the Bible says that you can't have sweet water and bitter water come from the same fountain. Okay, you can't serve 2 masters. You'll love one and hate the other. Ghanaians have to understand that it's not selfish to preference your own people. It's not selfish to appreciate your home, your culture, and this way of life. This way of life has sustained our people for generations. That's something that we should be very proud of. I went to Mensha in Kumasi, and as someone who loves, Kente cloth and all that, I saw the Asante Hennes from like 1900, and I was like, wow, we've been tying our Kente like this for hundreds of years. History, it's amazing. And this is the way of our ancestors. It's beautiful. We should not be ashamed of it. We should not deny it. And we can't simultaneously love it and then also practice the culture of other people more than we reverence our own. Our own will get faded out. You know, if we don't teach our kids Tree or Ga or Fenty, they won't know the language. They'll know English, they'll know French, they'll know Chinese, whatever, but they won't know their homeland language. It will get bled out. You know, if we don't focus on marrying our own people, building families, then we'll be bled out. We'll be one of those ancient people that no longer exist. And it's not far-fetched because it has happened in history. So we should take some of these lessons and understand them. You know, there are other Africans that kind of understand this part, you know, which I have to say. The Nigerians, for instance, they promote their people. And there's no surprise as to why they go far. Because when they have a concert, there are people going to buy tickets. You know, there are people going to wear their traditional garb. They're going to sing in their language and teach their kids Yoruba and Igbo and be proud about it and not be apologetic about it. So that's why it persists. So we could take a page from their book or others that understand that we can't put other people in front of us, especially not in our own lands. We're very accommodating to foreigners here in Ghana, and that's nice. But Ghanaians should have the full reign of this country. This is their country. This is their homeland, and nobody should come before them in their own homeland.
I think we've been indoctrinated that anything
Absolutely.
foreign
It's
is
good.
better than...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely. And it is, as you said, indoctrination. It's not the truth. You know, there are a lot of people come here for healing. People come here for health. People come here for community. There's so many beautiful, amazing aspects that are here that's not available in the West. Why would they come here? And that's the question I always pose to Ghanaians that are so eager to travel. I said, do you not notice how many people are coming from the place you want to be? They're coming here and settling here. Why? Why is that? If that place is so lit and that place is so perfect, they wouldn't be interested coming here.
Like that. How do people find you?
Unusual. Yeah, a lot of people don't know how to deal with me, you know, because I'm very unconventional. But that's okay, because that's part of the path that I'm leading. And at one day, I have already started to benefit from the appreciation of my journey, but one day, you know. I mean, after all, we have people that are on the Ghanaian money who betrayed Kwame Nkrumah, and everybody loves Kwame Nkrumah now. But when he was in power, and when he was doing what he was doing and having his vision, he was betrayed. You know, he wasn't appreciated in his lifetime during what he was doing. You know, so it's part of the being a leader, I believe. You know.
If I want to listen to your music, what platform should I go on? And how can I find the music?
You can find me on all streaming platforms: iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Boomplay, Audio Mac. I'm a real musician, guys. Yes. I currently have about 7 music videos on YouTube. So I am the Afrikan Superstar with a K, but you can Google me and my information will come up.
This is a very great conversation, and I
you
like
so
how
much.
you flow. I really enjoy it.
I'm a professional. Hey, JJ, professional.
You want to sing? Go for it. You want to?
I'm not coming to sing. No, but I do have. I do shows here in Ghana, so I don't know when you would air this. I have one coming up in a week or so. So yeah.
Okay.
I do have a Welcome to Ghana show on March the 5th. March the 6th is Independence Day. Yeah. So I typically do a show around then. So it'll be at Waves Lounge in East Legon, 8 p.m. It's going to be me. I'm going to rock out. So it's great. I have a tour coming in to Ghana on the 4th of March. And,
really?
And I have a welcome concert to greet the folks coming
really?
in.
So you do tours?
Yeah, I'm doing tours now.
Tell me more about it.
It's my maiden tour. Okay. So I've actually teamed up with a fellow world traveler, Taye Uhuru. He's been to over 70 countries. He operates a lot of tours throughout Africa. And he's actually been suggesting this for a long time, but I was apprehensive of that, but I decided, okay, let me branch out this year, try something new. So we're teaming up. We're going to take our guests to Cape Coast and Kumasi. We have a nice lineup for them. And one of the perks of coming on our tours is you get an exclusive welcome concert from me. So that's what I'm putting on. One of my big fans is coming in from St. Louis. So I'm really excited. It'll be her first time to Ghana.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I'm going to show her a lovely time.
How do people join this?
You can find, we're actually getting ready to release the new dates. Our next tour will be in October of 2024, but you can check my social media, my Instagram, which is the Afrikan Superstar Official, and also Taye Uhuru, that's Taye Uhuru, Uhuru. You can check his social media and you'll get the information.
If you do have a final message to your people in the diaspora, my people here on the continent, all over the world, what would that message be?
I would just say we need to talk about it. I mean, we need to do it more than we talk about it. We talk about it a lot. I know you've probably had hundreds of conversations on your channel already about the needs and these type of things, but it's time for implementation. And so I would encourage people that are really passionate about change to find a way to do that on your level. I know that I wouldn't necessarily impact the world with the things that I'm doing, but I'm happy to impact, the thousands that I know watch my channel, listen to my music, those things. And I think with each one, teach one. So each one, teach one.
Do you think we understand each other as Ghanaians or Africans living on the continent and the diasporans?
I don't think so. I mean, culturally, we're different. We grow up with different exposures and we grow up with different, I think the education across the board is the same, because if you're in America, you're getting American curriculum, you're getting those international curriculums here. But I think a lot of the social things are different. Westerners deal with racism, and that is very, very, it shapes them. It affects them. It affects their psychological well-being. When you grow up here in Africa and not have to deal with that, that is such a luxury. It's such a luxury to not be a black man or woman, just be a man or woman, not see the color, be able to just go out and just be a man or woman. It's a luxury. And that is a huge part of the diaspora. When you talk to them, they'll talk about the racism, they'll talk about police brutality, they'll talk about interactions with non-black people and all of that, and how some of that is what drives them here, and continentals can't relate to that because that's not a part of their everyday reality. So I think education and exposure would be the best thing, because although you may have never been burned by fire, it's been communicated to you that that is dangerous, and that if you see it, you should run, and those kind of things. We need to understand some of those things that the diaspora has been through and be a bit empathetic, because if you have that conversation with continentals, they're kind of passive about that. Oh, it's just, you can just ignore it, and you can just, just why don't you just be quiet and just go about your day? And even those that live in the West, they also kind of just stay among themselves and ignore those issues that are happening to other black people until, that those things are now seeping into the Ghanaian community, the violence, the racism, those kind of things. I heard just this morning that a 17-year-old boy, Ghanaian, was stabbed in London on Wednesday. And then there was a Ghanaian who was shot at a bus stop in Canada last weekend. These things that are historically happening to Black Americans or Black British are now starting to happen to various African communities. So what happens to one Black man affects us all, and we need to start identifying with each other and saying, okay, well, we are all Africans, we're all Blacks. We may have some different cultures and, different lineage a bit, but we come from the same root. So we have to be sympathetic to each other.
I like that. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Your studios are nice. Your team is lovely. And big shout outs to everybody who's gone into making us connect today. And thank you for your time.
Shout out to Stacy.
Yeah, shout outs to my niece, Summertime, baby girl. Yes, they did put a positive word in to make this collab happen. So I'm grateful for that.
I like that. All right, guys. It's been an amazing conversation with the African Superstar. She's an amazing personality, as you guys watched. If you did enjoy, like the video, share to friends and family. And if it's your first time here, don't forget to like, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, have a wonderful day.